The stock market, it just feels so permanent, right? Like it's always been here and always will be. But what if it's not? What if the very technology that's powering our world is actually making the whole idea of a 9 to 5 market, well, obsolete? So let's dive in and figure out what's really going on. This quote right here, it just nails the huge conflict we're seeing today. On one side, you have this system that's tied to human schedules and human limitations. And on the other, you have this relentless, unstoppable force that runs 24/7, basically at the speed of light. And this mismatch, it's not just some interesting fact, it's creating some seriously dangerous cracks in our entire financial system. Okay, so to really get what's happening now, we've got to look back at how this whole thing was built in the first place. Stock markets were an absolutely brilliant invention, for sure. But they were designed for humans and by humans, and that means they came with all of our built-in limitations. The entire system was literally built around people. Fixed trading hours so people could go home, physical floors where they could shout orders at each other, and decisions that were made at the speed a human brain can think. And you know what? For centuries, that was totally fine, because the rest of the world was moving at that same slow pace. Information came on ships and telegraphs. The market was in perfect sync with the world around it. But that era is long gone. A totally new kind of player has stormed the field, and this one doesn't operate on a human timescale at all. We are talking about high-speed, automated algorithms. And here's that fundamental mismatch, laid out plain and simple. A human trader feels great about making a trade in a few seconds. But an algorithm? It's working in microseconds. That's millionths of a second. It doesn't feel fear, it doesn't feel greed, it just sees logic. And it never, ever gets tired. So the world that was built for the human on the left is now completely run by the machine on the right. And just how dominant are we talking? Well, algorithmic trading now makes up the huge majority of all trades out there. That means humans aren't just getting beaten at the speed game. We're now a tiny minority in a world we created. The DNA of the market has already been rewritten. So just when we were kind of wrapping our heads around these super fast algorithms, the next wave is already crashing down. We're talking about artificial intelligence. And AI isn't just about being faster. It's about learning, adapting, and making moves that go way beyond simple pre-programmed code. This is the real game changer. AI just erases the last little bits of human psychology and physical limits from the equation. Just try to picture a global network of these things, trading all the time, with zero emotion, analyzing every piece of data on the planet in real time. In a world like that, what does an opening bell even mean anymore? But here's the problem. What happens when you drop this incredibly powerful new engine into the frame of a really old car? Well, the chassis starts to rattle apart. This insane speed, forced into a system designed for slow human thinking, is creating brand new and really dangerous kinds of fragility. And one of the most obvious signs of this breakdown is something called a flash crash. This is where the market can just evaporate, lose trillions of dollars in value in minutes, often for no clear reason, and then, just as bizarrely, snap right back. I think this metaphor is just perfect, because these flash crashes, they're not some random bug in the software. They are the predictable outcome, the stress fractures you'd expect to see when you push an old system way, way past its breaking points. And this is the root cause. You've got thousands of hyper-fast, independent algorithms all reacting to the exact same piece of news at the exact same microsecond. A tiny little trigger can set off this massive chain reaction. It's like a digital stampede that no human can possibly stop or even understand while it's happening. It's just pure, uncoordinated speed. So is that it? Is the market just going to crash and burn? Well, not exactly. What we're actually watching isn't a sudden death. It's a necessary and, frankly, a fascinating evolution. This gets at a core rule of technology, really. When a new system comes along that is fundamentally better, faster, and more efficient, the old system has only two choices. It can either adapt and absorb the new tech, or it gets bypassed, as people just move on to the better thing. Think about it this way. Email didn't kill the handwritten letter, of course not, but it was so much better for most communication that the whole role of the post office had to fundamentally change. We're seeing that exact same kind of transition happening right now in finance. We're moving from a slow, centralized system to something that's native to the internet itself. So what does this new email version of the market look like? Well, first, instead of one central place like the New York Stock Exchange, you've got decentralized networks.
Transactions are confirmed across thousands of computers, so there's no single point of failure. Second, you get what are called tokenized assets. All that means is that anything with value, a share of a company, a piece of art, even a tiny slice of a building, can be turned into a digital token and traded instantly, 24/7. Which brings us to the third point. It all happens on a market that, just like the internet, never, ever closes.
It's a really clear progression when you lay it out like this. We went from people shouting on physical floors to electronic markets that were still stuck on human time, and now we're in this algorithmic phase that's bursting at the seams. When you see it this way, the next step almost seems, well, inevitable, doesn't it? A system built from the ground up for machines in a 24/7 world. And that's the key takeaway here. This isn't about destruction. It's about a complete rewrite of the rulebook. The fundamental need for markets to raise money, to invest in ideas, that doesn't go away. But the way we do it, the mechanism itself, is being totally rebuilt on a brand new technological foundation. You know, the shift from a trading floor to just clicking a mouse felt like a huge leap, but the jump to a fully autonomous, decentralized, 24/7 financial network, that is on a completely different level. The system that comes next might not even be called a stock market at all. So the real question is, are we ready for it?